Hi, everybody. My name is Alex Brumble. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer here at HTEC and also the AI Ambassador. Today, we're going to be talking about AI and telecom and what it really takes to be successful over the next 12 to 24 months. We recently commissioned a study across North America, Europe, and the Middle East of about 2,500 leaders, and out of those, 255 were telco specific. And the message is really clear. AI is very much strategic and part of the board agenda. And the picture is really clear. AI is now on every strategic agenda, but scaling it consistently across the enterprise is still the hard part. So in this conversation today, we're going to explore three key themes. The first one is around AI as the network intelligence layer, AI as the cost control engine, and AI as a monetization enabler. And to help bring a lot of insight to this conversation, I'm inviting Philip Otley, our Global Managing Partner for Growth Industries, to join me. Hello, Philip, and thank you for joining.
Thanks for having me.
And Philip is going to help explore those themes and separate what is hype from what is actually executable, and what telecom leaders really need to be focusing on and prioritizing in order to create measurable value. My first question, coming out of the research, and as we look to 2026, operators' ROIC is still below the cost of capital. And you've said the industry is fundamentally sick. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, brave words. I think that context is important to anchor what the possibilities are for AI in this sector. So telecoms has been around for a long time. Let's contextualize this. It started off as voice connectivity and then moved to data connectivity. And now we're asking this industry to evolve into very new forms of supporting communication, less people to people and more agent to agent and the likes. So during the different evolutions of telecoms, it's never been a growth sector like high tech or consumer products. It has to be reliable. It has to have, it's enormously capital intensive, and it has to be able to be reliably building out and supporting these networks. We have diverged in the last couple of decades. 2024 was the flipping point, and BCG analysis showed that on average globally, the telecom sector did not cover its cost of capital. Now, there are regional differences. The emerging markets are typically about 90 basis points above cost of capital. Mature markets are about 40 basis points below cost of capital. Now, that's not sustainable, right? So we have a constrained environment. At the same time that we're asking telecoms executives to make one of the biggest investments they're ever going to be making in renewing the telecom fabric to support AI. So it's a bit of a tense period. And this is after a series of false dawns. 5G was supposed to be a dawn. Internet of Things, a dawn. We are convinced that AI is fundamentally different, qualitatively different. But the same constraints are in place for telecoms executives as they were previously.
This is one of the questions that I had for you. The investment in telecom, whether it is 5G and whether it is digital, is always huge.
Yes.
Have they really realized the whole value of those investments so far before they're now having to think about AI?
No. In fact, the investments that have gone into telecoms since the internet boom have largely returned value to non-telecoms players.
Right.
And including consumers, right? We are the beneficiaries of lots of fibre being put into the ground and lots of capacity being built out. And now we can communicate virtually anytime, anywhere, high bandwidth. So we've benefited, but the telcos themselves have not been able to reap the return on invested capital. So, very uneven.
So for an operator, a CEO, a CFO, or a CTO, what are the 2 or 3 strategic levers that they need to really take note of to reverse that dynamic?
Yeah. So it's our view that AI is a moment in time to be able to reverse fortunes. Now, inevitably, keeping a tight control of costs is number one priority in telco, right? But the ability to use AI to do that is a new tool. The ability to use AI to make a telco more relevant in this new world both in terms of products and services it offers as well as how it runs its business, is new. So the priorities that we would be talking about is, how do you run your business incredibly efficiently, but without efficiency being the only goal, right? How do you increase revenues? How do you retain valuable customers through giving them something they can't get elsewhere? So that would be the prioritization I'd be driving.
And obviously we're going to move into talking about AI, because AI, as you've alluded to, is a huge part of that. Now, one of the facts that came out of our survey when we asked the respondent in terms of if they're not yet AI mature, how long do they feel it would take them to catch up on the competitive advantage effectively? And for telco, it was something like 2 years. Can you add some color to that?
Yeah. 2 years in this world is an awful long time. It's the first thing I'd say. If you think back 2 years where we were, it's chalk and cheese. I think we're seeing the start of a divergence, which could be challenging, where actually some of the tier one telcos, who historically have been a little bit slow on the uptake of new things, have access to the capability and the partnering networks to actually lead on AI,
right?
AI adoption or AI commercial realization. And some of the more challenger second-tier telcos, who you might assume would be leaning into this a lot more, have found it difficult to work out where to put their bets,
right.
And particularly since they're very large bets. So there's a bit more of a divergence there. Recently, you see the announcements coming out of T-Mobile in the US around voice assistants and the likes, and multiple announcements post-Mobile World Congress about deploying edge inference, AT&T being the most recent. So there's a lot of tier one activity with very large numbers attached to them. And for the smaller telcos, the option of slipping 2 years behind can become very dangerous because unit economics start to work against you quite rapidly.
Absolutely. And if we think about those large organizations, and you've alluded to a number of types of AI and initiatives that are possible, scaling has to be even more complex when you're dealing with multiple types of technology. What are some of the pitfalls? What are some of the bottlenecks that organizations are finding at the moment?
So just about every telco CTO you talk to will almost inevitably refer to the archaeological digs through their tech stack, right? These are organizations and networks that have evolved over time. So implementing fundamentally different tech stacks is very, very, very difficult. So a lot of the challenge in those more complex environments, so we're not talking new build out that can be AI native, right? Some of the Asian operators and challenges, but folks that have been around for a long time have to be able to roll out AI in what is a complex network environment, a complex IT environment where a lot of the rules are not fully documented. So you can't just remove things, right? You have to be implementing AI and giving power potential, particularly around agentic AI, within an existing context. The data environment is enormously complicated. Fundamental data engineering is very challenging in a telco environment. When we talk to the CTOs, that's the sort of sleeves rolled up, pragmatic stuff that is slowing down their ability to roll out really interesting new things in the telco environment.